So last time we were in the city. We just been to the Temple of Whitaker. And let's see what's going on.
Got it.
Oh, alright. Let's take a look at our quest journal. Leaden Key Acolyte Show, find the place, Misery Madness, find Heritage, find the tower. Let's go to Jericho Village. Okay, so let's run down here and I guess do some traveling. How long do I have until this stupid thing's ready? 37 minutes. Okay. Okay. So if we just double time around for a minute. Stupid fountain will finish. "21 minutes. Okay. Interested patrons. Oh, wow, okay. Just now. So, we got that done. More interested in the yeah. I want to be able to take prisoners. Okay. Entertaining to be able to explore a bit, see what we got down here.
As you say.
Yeah.
There we go. What is that? Alrighty. Tougher than I expected. Well, you know.
No
Now
problem.
and then you just gotta get some awakened wood. Sounds like morning wood to me, but alright. This looks like a regular hammer, but I'll take their words for it. Wine dregs swirl around the bottom of the clay jar. What do we got here? Alright. Well, whoever was here, I don't see them anymore. Okay. I am going to go ahead and do that, but I'm going to bring him over here. I'm going to drop down a magic missile here. And this is kind of a free kill. There we go. More awakened wood, my friends.
Sure.
Orlon's cradle.
Sure.
All right.
Hey.
Let's hide bloodstone. Okay. Let's go ahead. Stormwall Gorge it is. Interesting. Okay. What do we got? Just going through, I guess. Okay, let's grab a little mushroom action here.
Yeah.
So, we don't have to go through a gorge. Why would you? I know, it's a crazy question. But, one that I think is important.
Yeah.
Alright, so here we go. Let's talk to this guy.
Yeah.
What's this place? Flames dance amid scattered offerings. Keys, coins, and the tiny skulls of birds and mice are mired in the melted and hardened wax. Alright, theft. Everything here is theft, so let's talk.
Out with you! I already told you what... I'm sorry. I thought you were one of those ruffians.
Poor fellow. That looks painful. Connor frowns, his brows knitting. It's a sorry deed, striking a priest.
How may I help you?
What happened to
I
you?
never saw their faces. Strange, hooded men asking about those ruins. Cleoban Relag. Most of the brigands who come through here asking about the ruins are looking for a few ancient trinkets. But these people knew the name, and they were in a hurry. They wanted to know where Cleoban Relag was. I tried to keep it from them, but I couldn't hold out forever. I don't know what they were up to, but it can't be good.
Aloth looks at you frowning. That does sound like the leaden key, doesn't it? The old priest nods politely. Is there something else I can help you with? Can you tell me where to find the ruins?
The Glanfathan tribe that guards the ruins will kill anyone who trespasses there. And they'll retaliate against us, too, if history is any indication. We've had too many fortune seekers stir up trouble of late. If I'm to tell you, I'll need to know your reason for wanting to go.
A dangerous plot is unfolding there, and I've got to stop it.
If that's the case, then we may already have trouble headed our way. I'll have to take you at your word. You'll find Cleoban Relag here. Whatever trouble you find there, please end it quietly and try to stay out of the ruins.
Tell me more about the Deerford. Folks here tend to keep to themselves, as they do in most towns this deep in the Deerwood. They're suspicious of travelers, but with all the brigands and refugees moving through the area, who can blame them? This is a temple of Barath? What can you tell me about Barath? Barath is the most universal of all the gods. It oversees portals and cycles of all kinds, even life and death itself. Under Barath, an ending is merely a passage to another beginning. Barath has many representations across time and across cultures. Around the Deerwood, you'll commonly see it depicted as the Pallid Knight or the Usher. The Glanfathans, however, know it as Baunu e Enku and Enko e Baunin. Oh. I've never heard of those guys. It means life and death and life, respectively. You see them as two skeletal figures, one male and one female. Explorers have found them carved opposite one another in doorways, but I know of no particular legends that speak of them. Tell me about the Pallid Knight. She's one of the youngest manifestations of Barath, but a familiar one nonetheless. Stories describe her as a gaunt knight in black armor with black eyes, black hair, and milk-pale skin. She demands an impossible toll from travelers who have tarried too long on her lord's road. Some challenge her only to slay themselves in the process. Who is the Usher? Kith have written stories, songs, and poems about the Usher for centuries. Sometimes he's folk, sometimes dwarf, and sometimes merely a walking skeleton. He never speaks, but he guides the way to death and the next life. He also creates the circumstances for the wayward to stumble into their own graves. Thanks for the information. Of course, Barath was once more widely worshipped in this area, but it is a silent god. He smiles sadly. These days, people find themselves in need of clearer answers. Farewell. Okay, let's talk to. Can I talk to this dude? Lighting candles, alrighty. Nobody. It's not the right kind of attitude to have, sir. Okay.
Hey, Olaf, can I, talk to your, your friend? What is it about Isilmir? I'm right here, you know.
No, you're both great. It's just, well, I feel like I don't get to spend as much time with her, and she's just so funny. Some of the things she says
Are not nearly as funny when you've been hearing them for 50 years.
Alright, so I'm gonna reach out and touch someone. Let's see what happens here. You see a Zarop gurgle gently as it falls to the ground, the victim of a small blade to the throat. The tall man in dark armor wipes the blade clean on his cloak before padding onwards towards the next guard. Another flash and the second Zarop is down, and the next and the next. Finally, a scout spots him and raises a shout. Between one step and another, the man smoothly deposits the knife in his boot and draws two long swords, decapitating the closest Zarop in the process. He makes no sound but the sleek whistle of his blade as they pass through the monster after monster, before one lodges in the skull of one particularly hard-headed specimen. Unable to break it free, he discards his other sword and reaches for his spellbook. A cone of flame erupts from his hand, boiling the skin from 3 agonized Zarops nearby and causing the remaining to scatter. The earth shakes and spikes of rock begin to pierce the surface as a nearby Zarop high priest attacks. A moment too late, as the bespelled man moves unnaturally quick from the ground to ground, attacking the remaining Zarops with sword and spell. Sweat burns his eyes as he conjures an enormous ball of fire, sending it screaming through the air towards the high priest and her remaining followers. Nothing but charred corpses remain after it passes. He falls to his knees, panting. Almost 40 Zobs fall around him. Just as he moves to get up, the ground begins to shake once more. Twice. 3 times. Huge footsteps, and then he dies behind a rock spike. A returning volley of fire sending his cloth. The Drake has noticed him.
Eh?
Okay. That's enough reading fancy stories for right now. An elf idles by the road, watching the village across the river. He nods as you approach, and the cowled figure standing near him falls silent.
Gods keep you.
Greetings! A look of horror slowly foams on his faces. Blazes! You've just come from the village. Have you? How bad is it? How bad was what? Haven't you heard? There's a murderer on the loose, said to have gone mad with grief and strangled a dozen healthy children, with her own was hollowborn. He nods at the figures with him. We've come all the way from Defiance Bay to bring her to justice. She's here? He nods across the river. She's hiding out in the village. We'd go in after her ourselves, but the problem is she knows our faces. There's no telling what she'd do if she saw us coming, and would lay out to avoid any further unnecessary bloodshed. He leans closer. Her name's Nifri. She's an Orlan. We want to get her out of town so we can deal with her cleanly. She knows we're looking for her, but if someone were to convince her that it's safe to leave... I'm not so sure about this. He lays a strong hand on your shoulder. A mad woman like this is everybody's problem, friend. Just keep an eye out. If you come across her, remember what I told you. I'll promise I'll make it worth your while. I have some questions for you. What did Nifri do exactly? She was responsible for the murder of all those babies in Defiance Bay, remember? Terrible thing, but we'll make her pay, alright.
Welcome.
Well, any luck with Nifri? I should get back to the search. A word, traveler. I require a moment.
Hello.
The guard gives you an appraising eye. You've recently come to Deerfoot, I take it. I don't suppose you saw a young elven noblewoman on the road. I'm stuck in this wretched place with the rest of my unit until we find her. I haven't seen anyone like that. Same as everyone else in this blazing village, he sighs. Perhaps you could go speak with Lord Harrand at the inn anyway. He'll be grateful for the assistance, and it could be the locals will open up to you about his daughter's disappearance more than they have to us. Yeah, alright. Yeah, right. This frickin' guy here. Wow. That's thieving. Can't do no thieving. simply can't do it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, let's go over to the inn. Alright, this table has been scarred and stained for decades of use.
I just want to find her.
The portrait
Surely
depicts a
even
man
you
and a
can
woman
understand
dressed
that.
in Adir
You're a
garb that
decent
would have been
fellow.
installed a century
My
ago.
lord.
The heavy frame is
Perhaps you should leave
Alright.
and check the wilds.
Alright. Heavy frame has been battered, and the plate that once bore the patron's name has been scratched out. They share a passionate embrace, which seems at odds with the disgust on their faces.
Hail and well met.
The innkeeper digs inside a mug with a dirty rag. His eyes under his thick brows are tired but watchful. He gives you a quick nod as you approach the bar. Don't see many travelers these days. Something I can do for you? What was your exchange with that nobleman about? He looks up from polishing his tankard and glowers at the lord. Folks around here is decent. They mind their own business. You might want to if you want to stick your nose in it, go talk to him yourself. I have questions about Deerford. Ask. Have you seen an Orlan called Nifri? Twitchy lady, that one. Tell me about the village. Walk from one bridge to the next and you've seen it. We're quiet, hard-working folk. We keep to ourselves and don't take to being pushed around. He glares at the well-dressed man standing off to the side. Used to be a castle here, built by some family of Adir and Thanes back when the Empire first came. Only one tower is still standing, and that's part of the Trigger's shop now. Sid, that bard by the fire, could spin you the yarn if you're so inclined. Who lives in Deerford? Not many anymore. Hard to keep people around when everyone's here is birth and Hollaborn. We got a few stick around and do business. Triggle's the leather carrier. Hendina crafts potions, and Winifred's trades in general goods. Rumbald's a pig farmer. Was, anyway. Something happened to Rumbald's pigs, I take it? Damn ogre carried him off. Now he squeals more than his herd ever did. It's rotten luck. Tell me more about Trigle. He's a courier. Treats leather and makes armor and a few other goods with it. Problem is, the smell of tallow and deer shit tends to put people off their food, and his shop's right next door. What's Hindina's story? Lady's a clever hand with potions and poultices. Got herself into trouble with a nest of worms, or so I hear. Her cart's on the east end of town. And Winifred? Been around even longer than I have. Nice enough fella, but never could find his way to the end of a sentence. His shop's across the square. Let's go back to my previous questions about Dereford. You don't see many travelers? Of course not. Why would they come here? We got bandits on the road and an ogre in the forest. As that yapping fool Rumbald will tell you. Worse yet, hasn't been a healthy child born here in over a year. Most kith that come here is just passing through. About that ogre. You don't hardly see him this close to town. Ogres and kith don't mix well. Ugly bastards, but they're smart enough to know that much. You want to know more? Talk to Rumbald. His farm's southwest of here. Never mind, I want to talk about something else. He places a clean mug under the rat bar and grabs another. Yeah? I want to see what order. I want to order food and drinks. There we go. So I'm good on camping. Is there crazy stuff? Boop doop boop boop boop. I need to get rid of that I ain't done. Okay. Basically, I need to get rid of that other crap too. But, I don't know, hoarding it. So, let's grab a Wait, what's this one? +2 might, +2 constitution, +2 intelligence is nice, yeah. Okay.
Eh?
He's arrived at the strong again. It's really concerning a local rebellion. Yeah, I think that sounds like a jacket, so we'll just stick over here. 1 day, 1 hour. Alright. The man wears a deer-style robe, simple but elegant. His fine leather shoes look like they were made for padding around indoors, yet they're caked with mud. He yanks at a lock of hair twined around his silk glove finger. His fine features are etched with anxiety.
My child is out there. Do they not understand?
My lord, we're doing everything we can. Unfortunately, these villagers...
Beasts take them all. I don't care how you do it, but find her.
A petty, small-minded man, just like the rest of them around here. I've been paying him an honest fee for board and bed, and yet he can't be bothered to stir himself to concern for my Alice.
Child is missing, I take it?
Yes, Lady Alice, my daughter.
He tugs at the fingertips of his glove.
I've asked around, but nobody in this mud hole has any concerns beyond their swine. They turn my men away like beggars and seem downright pleased to be of no use. But you're not one of my soldiers. And you look like you're used to getting your hands dirty, if you don't mind my saying so.
His guard leans in. My lord, a simple vagabond. Heron raises a hand to silence the man. If you find her, he nibbles the thumb of one silk glove. Tell her I won't be upset with her. She can come back and all will be well. So to make sure my Alice, my child, is safe, nothing in the world is more important to me. I'd like to ask a few questions about your daughter.
Alice. Of course.
He blinks and licks his lips. Describe Lady Alice. She's a striking young woman, bears more resemblance to her mother than to me. She has auburn hair and delicate, well-bred features. She must be, 28 or 29 now. Tell me about her disappearance. We'd stopped in Deerfoot for a few days. On our fourth evening here, I was making plans to continue our journey. Lady Alice was feeling unwell and went to bed. I retired a couple hours later, found that she had vanished. None of my men had seen her go, and no one in the inn knew where she was. Since then, my people have been combing the village, but we've yet to find a clue, and the locals have been no help. Why did you and Alice come to Deerfoot? It was merely a stop along the way to Aina's rest. However, she took ill shortly before our arrival, so it seemed prudent to allow her to rest a few days to recover. What's in Aina's rest? He frowns, is about to protest, but he gives him a sigh. Lady Alice has reached an age where it is prudent for her to marry. Given this legacy business, I can't let her fertile years slip by, nor do I want her womb to fester in the presence of so many hollowborn. Where's the rest of your family? Surely they wouldn't want to miss your daughter's betrothal. Lady Heron is ill-suited for travel, I'm afraid. And unfortunately, Alice has few other close relatives. My sister and her husband, Alice's aunt and uncle, of course, have been visiting Adir these past months. He rubs his knuckles. And as for siblings, Alice has none. My wife has only given birth to hollowborns. Since Alice, that is. I see, but going back to your daughter. What about her? Previous question. Tell me about
I'm
yourself.
Lord Nestor Harrand of Defiance Bay. My family has been prominent there since imperial times. Our primary estate is on the outskirts of Brackenbury, but we have holdings in New Haomar as well. Those went to my sister and her husband.
Sweet.
Eh?
Okay, so... This painting betrays the expansive foothills below the mountains of White March. This painting depicts a forested ravine somewhere in the living lands. The Orlin hovers by the window, peering out at every few seconds. As you enter the room, she watches you carefully, her hand hovering over her stiletto. She cranes her head to peer behind you. Someone told me you're responsible for heinous killings in Defiance Bay. Let me guess. Was that someone named Medrith? It's a lie, plain and simple. I got on the wrong side of his employers, and now he's after me. If you're here to do his dirty work, I won't make it easy on you. Relax. I just want to hear your side of the story. What story? The Daminals came after me. I just happened to rob the wrong place. How was I supposed to know they'd already claimed it? It was an honest mistake. I'm just trying to survive now. If you spoke with Medrith, you know where he's waiting. Please help me get out of here. Go east. Medrith's waiting just west of the river. She nods slowly. All right, I'm trusting you. Don't have much choice. See if you can send him the other way. That should buy me some more time. She follows the hooded figure toward the stairs, giving a fun, uncertain glance as she passes through the door.
Yeah.
I ain't no snitch. Alright, so I'm kind of peck our heads we got around here. Some real serious ones. Alright. Why, it's you! Thank you, friend. You've given me another chance. I mean to make the most of it. I've been telling everyone around here about how you helped me. I don't remember helping you. Cool. I'm glad I could help. See what's Final Fantasy's got going on. A redhead stands by the fire, tuning her lute and plucking its strings. She hums snatches of melody as she goes. First time at the Dragonkin, huh? Normally I'd have a song ready, but I haven't quite worked out this tune yet. I'm writing some chants about the founding of this inn. Say, you interested in the story? I haven't finished the chants, but I could tell you about it all the same. Sure, let's have it. Oh, excellent. These rustic fables are always great fun. Let me get out something to write with. It was built in the time of Hadrit's rebellion. An Adiran lady, Thanu, once had a keep here. One of the followers still stands, but the rest is said to be buried under the village. Anyway, she stuck to the side of the Empire, and a contingent of Duke Hadrit's Knights of the Crucible helped the farmers and colonists in the area turn her keep to rubble. This inn was the first building that sprang up from the ruin. Built with some of the same bricks the colonists had pulled from the Lady Thamu's castle, they say. Supposedly, the quarterstaff of her chief wizard even got lost in the construction, mortared into a wall or nailed under a floorboard. Anyway, the inn was supposed to be a haven and a meeting place while the locals built their new town. What do you mean, supposed to be? Your Woodens are an ornery lot. And the more these new neighbors met, the more they argued. They realized they didn't agree on much besides ousting the old lord. The biggest divide was over the Glenfathans and their nearby ruins. Hadrit's knights and their supporters wanted to keep the peace, but a group of misfits with more anarchic leanings that had formed in town wanted to go after the tribes the same way they'd gone after the lord. The villagers were fighting with each other as much as with the Adarans. In the end, memories of the Broken Stone War and the War of Black Trees were fresh enough that the Duke's soldiers won the day. Most of the other villagers came around eventually, but some of the core troublemakers left to join the front lines of the War of Defiance, and others, I've heard, found their way into the Guided Compass, the most forward-looking of the Glenfathan tribes. I don't know if I believe that part myself, but it makes a good story. She points to the east wall. There's the portraits of one of the chief rabble-rousers and his rival in the peacekeeping faction, someone's idea of a joke. I don't think they were particularly amused. I want to hear about the Broken Stone War. That was the first major conflict between the original Adiran settlers and the Glenfathans. Happened 3 years into colonization when some farmers knocked over an Ada Menher that was part of an Ingwithan ruin. The war didn't last long, but it spread quickly and claimed thousands. In the early weeks, most of the colonists didn't even realize there was a war going on until the Glenfathan raiders hit their villages. There had been small, spontaneous skirmishes between the colonists and the locals before them, but this was organized, and it was the start of decades of violence between the colonists and the Glenfathans. As you can see, Deerwood's full of history, even in little villages like this one. Tell me about the War of Black Trees. It started back in the colonial days, almost 30 years after the Broken Stone War. Even though isolated conflicts still broke out between the settlers and the Glenfathans, both sides had officially agreed to peace. Edring Hedret, Ameth's father, was Griff at the time. As part of the peace negotiations, he had signed treaties prohibiting Aiden's colonists from looting Engwith and ruins. However, he'd been able to outlaw the use of captured Glenfathan as slaves. What's a Griff? A Griff's the governor of a colony and is subservient to the Aiden Emperor. The early leaders of the Aedir colony in the Deerwood included Edring and Admeth Hedret, or Griffs. At the start of the War of Defiance, Admeth Hedret declared himself Duke of an independent Deerwood rather than Griff of the Emperor's colony. It was the same term used for leaders of the newly independent Vaelan republics. Anyway, we haven't had a Griff since. I see. Indeed. The taking of Glenfathan slaves had continued to be a source of conflict. It came to a head when the Imperial agents, aided by certain earls in the Deerwood, began looting the ruins again. See, the Empire had never actually agreed to Hadrian's treaties on the matter, and the recent secession of the Vaelan republics likely left them eager to weaken Hadrian's position. The looting sparked a brutal slave uprising and a guerrilla campaign among the Glenfathans. Edrang Hadret was too old to lead forces into battle, so he sent his son, Admeth. Admeth made a costly but effective decision that ended the war faster than anyone could have imagined. He burned the forest near the Icene River to keep the Glenfathan war bands from retreating. Thousands of Glenfathans died, and as Admeth repeated his scorched earth tactics in the following months, he wore down the remainder of their forces. To this day, over 150 years later, there are still sections of the Deerwood where the trees are nothing but bare, charred trunks. Farewell.
Eh?
Heavy, sweet perfume emanates from the barrels. The stave joints are stained dark purple, or dark brown and dull purple. What are you doing in the kitchen? Dangler get you sorted out with your food and drink. You know, Dangler.
Greetings.
Tell me about Lord Heron's daughter. He frowns and shrugs. His lordship says she up and went missing the other day. He wipes the tanker with his ragged towel, twisting its swift, jerking motions. I don't know any more than that. However those lording bastards handle their affairs ain't no business of mine. Display your coin pouch. Perhaps you could make it your business. Put them coppers away. My pay comes from an honest day's work. Enough for me and should be enough for anyone, but you're just like that lord, rattling your purses if it's fit to buy leave of gods and kiths. What did you mean about Lord Heron and buying the leave of gods and kith? Look, I don't want no trouble from you or him or anybody else. I'm just waiting for him to tire of my ale and leave so things can go back to normal around here. Benevolent too. I won't stand by and allow an innocent girl come to harm. Help me find her. Alright, so that girl, Alice, she was looking to disappear. You should have seen her. Watching the door like a sheep at slaughter. All the same, she didn't hardly speak to no one. Only folk I seen her talk to is Triggle. His shop's by the broken tower. A bit of a hothead, that one. My advice is to let the matter drop. Like I say, it don't profit to dig around in other people's business. I understand, Dingler. Farewell.
Yeah.
Dingler. You know, Dingler. And yes, I really like saying Dingler. Okay.
Oh, the smell around here reminds me of this stable hand, Drutman. Not real popular with the women, Drutman.
I wonder why.
Welcome.
Sturdy, broad-shouldered man wipes his hands on his slacks. He reeks of the same foul compound wafting from the vats, and his arms are stained with dye. You looking to purchase some leather? What can you tell me about Alice Heron? He shrugs. Only that her father's men have been banging down doors and stirring up trouble, looking for her. I never met her myself. That's strange. Dingler told me you two were acquainted. He watches you and smiles slowly. He doesn't miss much. What exactly did he tell you? He said she was looking for an escape. Her father's dragged her out here to get hitched. Some backwoods noble. She wanted to escape alright, and I was happy to give it to her. We snuck across the river a few nights ago for some private time. Come to find out we weren't exactly alone. An ogre taller than Winifred's tail sprung out of the forest, and we were so lost in the heat of the moment we didn't notice it until it was upon us. It grabbed Alice and disappeared into the night before I could even pull my britches up. Why didn't you mention this to her father? Lordship's guards have bashed in enough doors looking for the girl. I'm not eager to have them do the same to my head. She could still be alive. I'm in no shape to go after her, but that Heron looks like he'd have coppers to spare for anyone who found her. Scratched his cheek, stained with fingers of red and yellow. Others around here have seen the ogre east of town. Took most of Rumbald's pigs just the other day. Someone to find it. There'd be a lot of grateful people in Deerford. Wipes a splotch of dye from his elbow with shirt tail. Something else you need? What's in the collapsed tower? It's collapsed. Nothing. A few hides on stretching racks and tallow stench dinglers always grumble about. The rest of it keeps dust just like the fool Lady Thanu who tried to hold it. There's a bard at the end who'll tell you the whole blazing story if you want to hear it. Show me what you have to say. That's fine. Wait, what? Wow, that's nice. Retrain a character. Huh. Yeah. That's all good. These guys. I'm gonna have to deal with these guys. I guess we need to roll on across the river. Roll on.
Yeah.
Okay.
No problem.
Let's see what.
Hello.
A young woman leans against the wagon. One arm and one side of her face are covered in bandages, with raw, rippled flesh showing underneath. A minty, tangy scent wafts from her dressing. She smiles painfully. Just ventured into town? About to dry on some of my stocks, but you're welcome to have a look, see? How'd you get burned? How'd you get burned? She turns her face to the ground. By the flame, how bad does it look? Just say it. I know you'll tell me straight. It looks like it hurts. That's a mighty soft way of putting it. I've been keeping an eye on a drake's nest east of town, a Deerford crossing. The beast stayed just long enough to lay a clutch and moved on. Thank the Sky Mother it wasn't a full-grown dragon. She looks at her bandaged arm and grimaces. Fresh eggs are much more useful than the ones that get passed between merchants or left in nest for weeks or more. And that clutch looked to be at its peak. Thought I'd see about getting an egg, but I didn't realize so many of them had already hatched, or that young worms were so territorial. What's so special about these eggs? They're one of the strongest tonics known to kith. If you leave out Caro Galan, of course, not saying anyone should take that. But dragon eggs are known to make kith bold, purposeful. Some even think they'll protect from biowax. She shrugs. All I know is everyone's pining after potions made from dragon eggs. The damn roads. Can't reach none of my suppliers, so I'm stuck with whatever I can scrounge up in the woods. Deer cap, river reed, and the like. Well, I could get an egg for you. So, she keeps her gaze steady, but you see hope kindling in her eyes. I sure hope you're not leading me on. I don't think I could stand getting burned again. She bites her lip. If you really mean to go after it, I'd certainly pay you. Just remember, big as they are, dragon eggs are fragile. There's a lot more I can do with a whole one.
Good day to you.
Anything I can do for you? I've got some handy ointments if you're braving the roads anytime soon. Let's see. I'm just gonna go after a noble lady. Grieving mother. This middle-aged peasant woman is dressed in brown leather cloth straight to her knees. Her hands are working at separating stringy, colorless vegetables in a pile before her, stripping the heads off of long, fibrous stems with a paring knife. She discards the stems one by one, placing the heads of the vegetables into a small, cradle-like basket in front of her. She doesn't greet you as you approach. You're not sure she even knows you're there. I was hoping to ask you some questions. The woman doesn't respond. She keeps stripping the heads from the vegetables with a steady rhythm. She may be deaf. There's no indication she heard you. Study the woman. At first glance, she seems nothing than a middle-aged woman, unremarkable. Maybe less stern than most, who seem more focused on the weaving in her lap than her surrounding. Yet, you suddenly notice she's not stripping the vegetables before her any longer. She's weaving, and the vegetable pots are now missing. She still pays you no mind, her brown locks torn and snagged from lack of washing. Like many of the townfolk you've seen, there is a strange blur to her. Even the motions of her hands seem to be playing with threads that lack color and a shape that lacks interest. It may be that she is half-minded or deaf, but something feels wrong. As you watch her, her knitting takes on an odd cadence, and you have a terrible suspicion that something lurks beneath what your eyes are showing you. Focus on this woman. Brown hair is long, almost impossibly to the length of her hands. As you follow the streams of her locks downwards, the hair becomes long and black, splitting off into threads of black and silver and wrapping around her hands. She is forming a soul cradle with the threads, braiding a net in front of you, each finger long and sharp like a series of knitting needles, almost hypnotic. The silver and black strands of her hair weave together, with silver predominating as a highlight, the black shadowing it. And suddenly you are calm. You are on a plateau, almost the height of a tower, several stories high. The plateau is like a table lying beneath a clear sky, and beneath the plateau, surrounding it in all directions, a forest hazy with mist, although whether it is actual mist, or a distance, or a recollection. Resting in the curve of a natural arch above you is a great copper bell, half again the size of a man, hanging at attention, as if looking down on you and the event unfolding before you. The plateau is soaked in the sun, and the rock beneath you is rough and warm. The sky forms a cradle around you. You feel different, not disembodied, but you feel your body. Your physical contours have changed along with the surroundings. You hear a soft series of chimes, like wind chimes. With the sound, the scene gains color and texture, as if the sound is beckoning you gently forth, filling your senses and thoughts, like mist roiling softly in a sealed chamber. And focus on the chimes. The chime coaxes you deeper into the memory, and you're certain it is a memory, a warm one. You are on the stone of the plateau, your knees on the warm texture of the ground, silver white, shimmering like adra. The plateau is formed of it, glistening in the sun. You can feel the heat on your skin, your wrists and your hands. Your hands are in motion. Weaving, not thread, but gathering, tenderly moving along the first movements of brass wheel. Your hands are wet. Your hands are upon the flesh of a newborn child, and you can feel the crowning of a tiny head turning in your grip, its head slick, wet from the womb. The hands you are weaving and habiting have done this many times, and they are practiced and confident. You can feel distant pains in your own head as the head emerges, a stream of fluid from the womb helping the newborn slide forth, and a woman's labored breathing crying out. Focus on the child, the movement of your hands. As your hands move, you hear the sound of chimes, clear, cutting through the haze of memory. You cannot see what they are coming from, but they are close, and they are meant as a comfort. Of that you are certain. Draw the child forth. And coaxed by your hands, every movement causing the chimes to sound again. Almost eagerly the child comes forth, and as it does, your hands are in motion, weaving, moving along the length of a soft, wet rope. No, an umbilical cord from the legs of the naked woman before you. You are holding a small child, still wet from the womb before you. The child cries out, its cry full of life, full of soul, a ringing of chimes echoing in its thoughts, filling it with its welcome. The soul is blurred at the edges, as if you were viewing a soul from within a soul. But it is there, it is alive. The woman before you is weeping, and at her first cry, her hands reach out for it. You surrender the child to her, something you've done many times before, and as your hands move, the chimes echo the movement, and you realize the chimes are hanging from the cords on your wrist. And where once they echoed in memory, they are now echoing in the child's mind as well. The chimes are intended to welcome the child, to be its first gentle greeting into the world, a soothing sound, guided by the tender motions of your wrists. You are helping to weave its thoughts, its perceptions, and the experience. The one laughs with a ragged joy, laughing from a parched throat. Her emotions seem soothed, but the physical demands of labor have left her exhausted. The child is here. The child is safe, and all atop the plateau is peaceful, calm, distance, flattening out as the memory persists. With effort, the scene bleeds of color, and your mind becomes your own again. There is no pull, no anchor, and yet the sound of chimes remains as they existed in the memory. They sound here as well. They are hanging from the woven braids on the wrists of the woman before you. If your head is spinning from the touch of her mind, the sound of the chimes on her wrist is sharp and clear, as if coaxing you back to the real world. The woman still sits before you, but she is nothing like what you first saw. She is wearing black, shredded garments draped over her form like streamers. Her hair is streaks of black and run through with silver. Her age is almost impossible to tell. She simply feels old, like a crumbled watchtower. As she lifts her head to face you, see that her hair is draped across the front of her face like a veil. What you first saw was a mental glamour of some sort, unconscious, and you realize that you see is not what the world sees, and you are perhaps the first to see her true self. Still, you don't sense a threat in the realization. If anything, you feel a sense of relief from the figure. You can hear her thoughts, and she is glad to at last be seen. Who are you?
I am seen, but the eyes of others do not remember. You were the first to see me as I am, the call stripped aside.
There is light touch on your mind, a caress, and her left hand mirrors the motion of the touch reaching up to the air between you. You hear the chime on her wrist sound softly, shaking her hands, moving as if pantomiming, resting on your cheek at a distance, and she speaks softly and slowly.
Your memories. A cadence of wheels on a caravan track. Fever. Questions by running water. Violence in a night's campfire. Arrows in the dark. And fleeing. Falling rock and cracking stone. And a storm. The storm. The storm that brushed you. Did its screaming wake you from your mind's cradle? Your memory of it is painful. Its cry is difficult to ignore. It's like a child. Many children crying out.
I encountered a Beowulf, and yes, it did something to me. Her hand withdraws shyly, the chimes surrounding you softly once again. The woman stands uncertainly, as if she has been sitting for some time, or is too weak to bear her own weight. Wait. You notice her cheekbones are tight, her face gaunt. Yet, while her stance is weak, she seems determined to stand before you.
You are able to see me.
It's almost a question. She suddenly realized she doesn't seem to know what you saw when you looked at her. Image on the plateau, yet the image was so clear, so sharp, you're surprised she didn't feel her there.
See me as a rare gift. A watcher's gift.
I've never been able to do that with a living person, except with you.
So many questions, thoughts, whirling like storm winds. That storm still roars through you, deep beneath your thoughts, yet muted and secret, like an underground river. You cannot tell if it is carving new channels, or eroding what keeps your true strength buried. The fact that you could hear it at all, survive it, is something few have ever done. Your power will grow stronger with each soul you touch, as it allowed you to reach out to mine.
There's a silence, and although it seems to last but for a heartbeat, in your thoughts it stretches out between the two of you like a pull between your minds. You blink, take a breath, and you realize she wants to ask you a question, yet can't form the words, as if assembling them is painful, or there simply are not enough pieces. Assemble the thought. fear dissipates. Wow.
Already gone.
Interesting. Interesting.
Hey.
Try it out for a bit.
Your thoughts must flow deeply indeed.
Ciphers. Okay.
Hey.
Alright. You know, I think I'm going to take a break here for a little bit, guys. I will be back later on. Thanks for watching. But it's, clearly taco time. I mean, I gotta pay attention to a taco, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Not mean.